So hi, welcome everybody. First, I'd like to thank Cybercom for inviting me here. I'd like also to thank Marco and Tanya for the organization. Everything went smoothly, so perfect. So today I'm going to talk about Qt and a bit showing what it is and going into details and how you can use it. So the agenda for today will be a bit of an introduction, the opportunities with Qt. Then we'll meet QML. It's a language. I'll talk about the tooling support for QML and a bit of the language basics, how it works, and how you can integrate already existing code into QML or native components. And I give an example as well, which is KDE Plasma. So about me, I'm a Qt developer since 2008. I'm working in Oslo. During 2 years, I was mainly working on Qt Graphics View, which is the canvas in Qt. For people that follow a bit the news of Migo, it's the framework that is used by the Migo Touch UI library. I was involved in QML development. Mainly work on the integration with graphic view, so low-level stuff in QML, not necessarily high-level. I recently moved to Qt, WebKit, and WebKit development. So right now, as we speak, I work on the HTML5 video and audio element support in Qt. My KDE background, so I'm a KDE developer as well. I started in 2006 on Kplato. It's a project management tool. It was a student project, and since then I'm stuck in KDE and I work mostly on Plasma. I'm not as active as I used to be, but I still stay around. So moving to Norway was fun because I left the French fast food for the Norwegian gastronomy, and which I heard is not far away from the Finnish gastronomy too. So no, it's a good job. So I like my job. I like Norway. It's just joking. Let's talk about a bit of the past of Qt. So Qt is quite old. It's an old toolkit, right? Back in time, when you think about Qt, that's what you think. This is KDE, right? So regular UI on a desktop, buttons, menus, and everything. The problem is the market is moving, and we have those kind of things. And you don't have a mouse. You have a finger, and a finger is less accurate than a mouse. So if you compare this and this, like you can tell that this user interface will not work on a small form factor like this phone. Not because it can't run, it's because it's not well suited for it. So as I said, Qt comes from the desktop world. It was initially designed to build an UI on top of Motif and Windows 15 years ago. So at that time, you know, having something on a 7 inches or less screen was not in the mind of people. So also, it's a component-based architecture. And even though we said Qt is cross-platform, it's not really cross-platform in the sense that you can take your program, let's say, on a computer and put it on a device. It will run, that's for sure. If it's a supported platform by Qt, it will. But as I said, it will not be optimal. So you still need to tweak the UI. So it's not a really cross-platform toolkit in the sense that you always have to tweak a bit. Also, if you look Qt is C++, right? I don't know any designer that actually speaks C++. I mean, like 100% designers that actually speak or write C++ code or understand C++. So what we see is like the designer actually designed the UI of the application, but the developer actually implements the user interface, and it's always different. That's what the designer asked for. Or they implemented less because they couldn't. Performance reason, time problems, time issues, and stuff like that. So the fact that the designers speak another language, and the fact that they use other tools, let's say Flash, for instance, or even PowerPoint. I've seen PowerPoint used for designing user interface. It makes the collaboration difficult between both worlds. And when you create a user interface for a phone, now the user interface matters a lot. Like it has to be fancy, it has to be nice, otherwise you won't sell it. You won't sell your device. Also, if we look again, the imperative languages like C++, it's a bit counterproductive in a sense that it requires many steps to reach what you try to achieve. Like if you take a C++ framework, you need to inherit from the base class or to actually customize them and so on. It takes a lot of time. And you always struggle with the C++ or the language itself than actually describing what you really want to have on the screen, the look and the feel. That's something that is not easy to do today in Qt. Also, we see that canvas-based architectures become prevalent. QWidget, the way the widget work in Qt, is not based on a canvas. It's based on an old approach. We still have a canvas, where, as I said, because I'm working on it, it's called graphic view, but it's still, based on top of the foundation of Qt. So it's not the best canvas that we could have in Qt. Like, let's say, compare it to canvas in the iPhone, for instance, or, I don't know, Android probably. So with the canvas, you can do animations, fluid transformations, like nice effects and so on. You can talk to the graphic card and add some fanciness in your UI. And this is important because for us, for Qt, for the people that use Qt, it's important they can actually create UIs that are different than the others, so they can actually sell the products and say, hey, look, mine is different, right? A bit like they do on top of Android. Oh, here is my UI layer on top of Android. It's better than this one. So we still think that you should be able to customize your UI quickly and do some fancy stuff on it. Also, if you look at the market today, the hardware capabilities of, let's say, a small smartphone and a computer, they're slowly merging. I mean, who thought about, like now, for a recent phone run a 1 GHz processor? Who thought that it would happen 3 years ago? So, and if you look back in 1999, probably something like that, or 2000, like desktop computer had a 1 GHz processor, right? So the hardware are merging. Graphic cards are on mobile phones getting more features and features and features. And so the hardware capabilities of both a computer and a mobile smartphone, they are slowly merging. But the UI and the form factors are completely different. My laptop is a keyboard. The phone is a touchscreen. Who knows what will come next, 3D user interface, or I don't know. So, but the hardware capability is converging, so what we could run on the desktop now, we can actually run quite easily on, but we could run it on the phone quite easily. But still, the UI will be different, just because the screen, the form factor will be different, the way you interact with it will be different. So that's actually the background of Qt. So now how we can solve that? Well, we think that what we had in Qt does not fit well mobile development. We are in a transition phase. We slowly move to a canvas with graphic view. That's what Nokia is using for Migo. But we still think it's not the optimal approach. So, and that's why we're working on something that we call QML. And QML is a language. It's called Qt Meta language, Qt Meta Object Language. The marketing name of all that project is actually Qt Quick. It's an umbrella term for the declarative module in Qt, which is QML, and Creator, which is our tool for it, our IDE. For us, it's a new way to create UIs in Qt. It's nothing to do with the old designer. It has nothing to do with C++. It's a declarative language. It's very inspired from JavaScript. It's actually really similar to JSON syntax in JavaScript. We also support JavaScript, so you can do JavaScript code inside. You can import libraries from the web. It's intuitive. It's really fun to use. I'll show you afterwards. And it has a similar structure to HTML, but it's not the same. You create parents and then children, and it's an object tree that you create, actually, a bit like HTML. For the fun story, back in time when we were starting working on QML, the language itself was not JavaScript or JavaScript JSON. It was actually HTML or XML, to be honest. And after hacking demos and everything, like when the file started to be really big, we said, wow, it's insanely hard to read. XML is not human readable language. So that's why we changed the syntax and now we use JavaScript JSON because it's easier to read and to understand what's going on in the code. The approach we have also is completely different than what we had in QWidget. QWidget is, for instance, you get a checkbox with everything into it, all the features you can imagine of a checkbox. And what happened is like it creates huge, fatty components. And sometimes people say, yeah, but I don't need all those features. What I want is just a checkbox with a cross, and I can click on it. I don't need auto layout. I don't need other features like that. I don't need to be able to style the button and so on. So, so the feedback from customers of Qt or users of Qt was pretty much that it's actually hard to extend the existing components to change them the way they want. So that's why we said, okay, let's do the other way around, is let's provide basic primitives, like, I don't know, basic geometry primitives, like rectangles, pixmap, rectangle, pixmap, and small geometry form factor, I would say, and then you build your button. So that means that you can actually build it like you really want by adding primitive one afterwards, like a rectangle is a pixmap with the text on top of it. So we create components from simple other elements, and then each item is independent. You can access to each sub-item independently. For now, the canvas in QML is QGraphics view. So you can do fancy animation. You can also reuse the code that you have on graphic view, and then you can bring it to QML. We support states and animated transitions. So you can define states on the UI, like for instance, portrait landscape. And you can decide how the transition will happen from the portrait to landscape. You can configure, as I said, the interpolation between the properties and everything. So why Qt Quick? Recall, it's to ease the creation of animated user interface, something that we didn't have in Qt. It's to bridge the gap in Qt for mobile development who want to be able to create quickly applications and put them on, let's say, a vStore. We focus on performance. It's designed since day one for performing well on devices. It's not necessarily for device, for mobile or embedded development. We think that it will have a use case on the desktop, and we hope that at some point we'll bring features so that you can actually use it as well on the desktop and get rid of QWidget slowly. It increases the productivity a lot. It's, you can create custom items really quickly, and it's completely different than C++, where you need to subclass and everything. And what works really well is, since it's an easy language to read, designers are able to understand. And we have a lot of success stories of actually designers doing working prototypes. They create the design and they actually hack it into QML, and then it's actually a working prototype they can give to a developer and say, okay, now you have to implement the logic. The UI is made, but implement the logic. That happened in KDE. So that's the last one. Empowers designer to actually create real application instead of a Flash that's actually is useless for a developer, which can't do anything with a Flash.